Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first ever Kingdom in Cambodia podcast. I am Nathan Borntrager, and this podcast is primarily for people who want to know what all is going on in Cambodia, as I am a missionary there, or at the time of this recording, going to be. I am currently sitting in my room in Denver, Colorado, working on fundraising and such. So this podcast is just another way for you all to get updates and know exactly what's going on in my life as I'm overseas. So you don't necessarily have to just read a blog. Sometimes they can get a little long, and if you're anything like me, you don't like reading all that much, and it kind of goes to the wayside. And so this is just another way for you guys to listen and to just be involved. Today's podcast is going to be mostly about how I got to this point. A lot of you already know the story, but a lot of you also don't. So in 2014, I went on a trip called the World Race. It was a 11-month-long mission trip to 11 different countries. And it was an incredible experience. The people I met there, both on my team and the people in the countries, are incredible, and I'm still friends with everyone to this day, especially those on my team. We were really close, and if any of you guys are listening, shout out to all of you. And when I got back from that trip in November of 2014, I thought, you know, I like missions, but I don't think that I could ever be a full-time missionary because I really don't want to raise my salary. And I kind of just shoved it aside and was like, I'm gonna be a band director. I'll do some short-term missions during the summer, and it's gonna be all good. And so I got a job teaching in Pueblo, Colorado, and I really enjoyed doing it, except for all of the stuff that doesn't involve teaching. In the classroom, it was awesome. I love doing it. But all of the behind the scenes stuff that no one ever knows about or sees about unless you've been in a school, I cannot stand that. So it was, and I didn't really realize that until after I got out of teaching. But one day while it was my second year of teaching there. This would have been in 2017, the beginning of 2017. I got called into the office, into the principal's office, which is usually never a good sign, even if you're a teacher. And he sat me down. He goes, Nathan, we're going to non-renew your contract, and we want you to reapply for your position because we're starting this new performing arts program. And at the time, I thought, yeah, all right, that makes sense. So I reapplied, re-interviewed for the position, and I did not get it. And I knew coming out of the interview that I wasn't going to get it. Actually, they didn't tell me there, but I just kind of got the sense that this is no longer where I'm supposed to be. So once I found out, I had to tell all my students, which was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do so far, because those kids were the reason that I was able to keep teaching for as long as I did without losing my mind. So I had to tell them. It was super hard. I started looking for other jobs. Most of my free time was spent filling out job applications. I'd do one during my lunch, and then I would get home at night, and I would do a couple more. I filled out well over 100 applications. I only had 5 interviews, and only 1 or 2 of them seemed pretty promising. And turned out that that wasn't where I was supposed to be. I didn't get hired by anybody. By the time summer rolled around, I was getting a little bit desperate. I didn't know what I was going to do. School had ended. I still didn't find a job. My lease was going to be up in about a month, a little bit more than that. And I just couldn't find anything. And so one day I was filling out more job applications, and I was like, I need a break, and I got on Facebook. And I saw a post there on Facebook by the base leader there in Cambodia. Her name's Emily. And I looked her up, saw what she was doing there, and I go, you know what? This might be what I'm supposed to do. So I called the office, the contact that she listed, at Adventures and Missions, and I talked to him for a little while, and we had talked about it and what they did and all that stuff there in Cambodia. And so I was like, well, let me think about it. I have one more job interview. Let me see how it goes, and I'll get back to you. And so he's like, all right. And so I went to this job interview in Colorado Springs. And one thing I really didn't like a whole lot about the job that I did in Pueblo, the teaching job, was it was split between a middle school and high school. And these weren't in the same building. They were in separate buildings across the street. And the middle school was one of two middle schools that fed into the high school. So by the time they got to the high school, I knew half the kids already, but the other half, I had no idea who they were. And that made it a little bit weird, a little bit awkward. And I just really didn't like that. So I walk into this job interview in Colorado Springs, and it was a middle school band director position. And I go in, I shake hands with the principal, and he goes, all right, so this is split up between 3 different schools. And so I just almost immediately, I was like, all right, God, I understand. And I could have just stopped the interview there and said, no, I'm sorry, I can't do this. But I finished the interview. I knew then that, of course, if I was offered it, I wasn't going to accept it, because I just couldn't do that to myself. It would have been miserable. And so I called the office on the way home. As soon as I got on the interstate, called them up. I said, all right, let's start this. Let's get there. And so that started my journey here to going to Cambodia. And it was a little bit tough. I knew what I was going to do now, and now I have to move home and spend time fundraising. But I took a trip to Cambodia, a vision trip, that November of 2017. And I knew on the tuk-tuk ride from the airport to the guest house that this is where I was supposed to be. It just felt right. It made sense. And I just knew down in my heart that this was what I was supposed to do. And God just dropped that on my lap out of nowhere. It was something I never ever expected to do. That I never thought that I would end up doing. I didn't want to raise my salary, and that thing that I never thought that I would do. And I did write a blog on it. If you want to check that out, nathanborntrager.myadventures.org, and you can find that blog there. It's called The Room at the End of the Hallway. It was one of the first ones that'll be on there, so you might have to dig a little bit. But it explains more about my feelings as I was going through that lost period in my life. Where am I supposed to be? What is supposed to be going on? So check that out. It delves more into that feeling side of it. As far as what I'm going to be doing in Cambodia, I'm going to be what's called a field mentor. So when short-term teams come in to the base from Adventures and Missions, I'll be working with them, getting them where they're supposed to be going, assigning them their ministry, checking in with them, seeing how they're doing, both physically, spiritually, mentally, all the above. Lead Bible studies, lead worship, that sort of thing, and just be there, mentor them. When I was on the World Race, one of all of my favorite places that I did ministry at were the ones where the base hosts also poured back into us, as well as the people that we were serving. So that's just something that I want to pass on to those short-term missionaries that come through. And I'll be working with age group of probably about 18 to 30 years, somewhere in there. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's something, that age group is something I really have a passion for. My own age group and younger, till about high school age. So I'm just super excited, super looking forward to that.